All right, Kerry King, formerly of Slayer, is going back out on his solo run. Slayer got a little bit of reunion festival shows out of their system. And now he's returning to the road with his band and special guests. He's got Municipal Waste and Alien Weaponry on the bill, too. So it should be a great show. Friday, January 31st. This is going to go down around the corner here at the House of Blues. Ticketmaster.com has all the info for you. So caller 10. These two are for you. Good luck. Two for Kerry King. 216-578-1007 or 800-348-1007.
They've been described as juvenile, ridiculous, moronic, smug, and unlistenable. They've also gotten some bad reviews.
I give it 2 thumbs in my ears, so I don't have to listen.
It's the Alan Cox Show.
On 100.7 WMMS.
35192. Send me a text if you want. You can watch the show on the Alan Cox Show YouTube channel. Look for it there. Adam in Canton said that he microwaved a beer once and it was not good. Well, that's...
Canton, you say?
Yeah. Do you know anything about Canton? I mean, have you ever been there?
I do. I was there last January, and I'm going to be there again this Saturday at the Patina Arts Center in Canton for the Canton Comedy Boom's 1-year birthday party.
Wait, you haven't performed in Canton since January of this year?
Yeah.
Wow, so it's really a return. It's a big return for you. Like coming back to Canton as a conquering hero along those lines?
Yes,
right.
Yes. So.
Bill in South Jersey, hello.
Guys, how you doing?
What's going on, man?
I called up after I heard you talk about the stadium. Full disclosure, I've been to Cleveland 3 times, 2 times in the late 90s and most recently in 2010. I might be the only bureau chief who would say this, but I actually like Cleveland.
Well,
Go ahead.
So you haven't been to Cleveland since 2010?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, okay.
No way to know how long that's been, but
yeah, I don't.
Sounds like a long
I'll
time.
do some quick math, but it sounds like yeah. And so your thought is what?
Well, my thought is the fact of moving the stadium to Brook Park. I know Bill didn't particularly like it for his own concerns, but I kind of think maybe that's a good thing because maybe that's not necessarily the best use on the waterfront, right? Like after they move the stadium, they're going to have this waterfront parcel available. And who knows? Maybe they could build a couple of Squifle Towers there or something like that.
Yeah, I mean
the
city
all right,
of
I'm listening.
The city of Cleveland, legitimately, the city of Cleveland has got its work cut out for it because there's a lot of money that comes from those football games that goes to the city of Cleveland. So it's not just again, these things always go back to money, and so if the Haslams get to put their arms around the whole thing. And not kick back to Cleveland or whatever. I mean, that's, better for them, I assume. I don't know how these things work from tip to taint, but and there's only so much Cleveland could do to keep them, by the way. There is a finite tax base in the city of Cleveland. So they were slightly hamstrung over this. But again, I think as far as fans go, you're going to have people grousing about it because they're used to going to that stadium and going to the lake. And I get it. I understand. My team, the Bears, they were talking about moving them. They were talking about doing the exact same thing for the exact same reason. Because the billionaire owners kick and scream until they get what they want, whether that's in the form of subsidies that we pay, or whatever. And then I think they finally said, we'll keep it at Soldier Field. But there is a psychological cost to moving it out there. But once people get out there and they see all the bells and whistles and the shiny crap, all is going to be forgiven. People are not going to care. But for the city of Cleveland, financially, that's a hit, boy.
Well, I understand. My thought about that, and so I don't know that it would make up the revenue on that, but think about the idea of having some type of new community where the stadium is, right? And all the places that people go to, I guess maybe on West 6th Street is the nearest thing, that people go to hang out for the stadium.
Yeah.
And so if there was an actual community there with people living there and working there, all the time, I don't know. That might be more beneficial to the people who have those type of entertainment and recreational businesses nearby, because now you've got people there all the time instead of just the 8 Sundays or 9 Sundays a year that football is being played in the stadium.
Yeah. Yeah. Bill, I'm going to be back in Jersey next weekend for a wedding.
Well, good for you.
He's like, oh, he threw it right back to me, didn't he? Oh, what's good for the goose, boys?
Good for you.
Good for the gander. All right, thank you, Bill.
Take care, guys.
Bye, Bill.
In South Jersey. See,
Bill
there
makes a lot of good points.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, he does.
There's just the part of me that's like, I like the Browns.
I fully
in Cleveland,
understand.
so.
Yes, I understand. Going to the Muni lot, and I get all that. And you're right by the lake. Now you're going to be fully landlocked. So, despite what the name is, I don't think there's even a brook there, is there? Is there a brook in Brook Park?
Maybe in one of the strip clubs.
Yeah, that's with an E on the end.
Uh-huh.
All right. Boy, this Liam Payne thing, by the way, he clearly committed suicide. I think that's the conclusion that we're coming to, is that you don't fall off a third-floor balcony, right? Maybe he did. I think there was a lot of drug paraphernalia in the room. He had been having a very difficult time. He had been going through some pretty acrimonious stuff with his ex-fiancée in court. Liam Payne was one of the guys from One Direction who... the story broke yesterday that he fell off of his third-floor hotel balcony. I think that the inference is that he jumped. A lot of people were flaming TMZ because I don't know how they do it, man. This was in Argentina, for God's sake, and TMZ had photos of like his body on the sidewalk in front of the hotel or something. So people are giving them a really hard time for posting those photos. I think they took them down with the quickness, but that's kind of TMZ's thing, is that's how you get all those eyeballs and all those clicks. I'm constantly amazed at how quickly TMZ gets stuff. So people were really upset with that whole thing. But it certainly seems like that this was a suicide. There was a 911 call from hotel staff. It's all in Spanish, obviously, but
Is 911 the number there too?
Well, you know what I mean. We call it 911. Yeah,
Emergency
whatever
call,
their thing is. And a guy called and said, "Hey, I'm calling from this hotel, and we just had I think we just had somebody jump from their hotel balcony, and it was Liam Payne. He was only 31 years old." And so you've seen all kinds of celebrity shout-outs to him, not least of whom are his former bandmates in One Direction. They're all gutted, as they would say. And those guys all auditioned for a show called X Factor when they were like in their teens. And the first time this guy auditioned, Simon Cowell said, "No thanks." And they auditioned again a couple of years ago, and they assembled that band into One Direction. But his ex she was on a podcast recently before all this happened, obviously, and was talking about how, like, he always said he was going to die early, and we had a lot of problems and blah, blah, blah.
He would always message me ever since we broke up, like, "Oh, I'm not well." He would always play with death and be like, "Well, I'm going to die. I'm not doing well." I know the lifestyle he lives, and there is a day where something bad is going to happen. So I would always be like, okay, he's saying these things. I have to help him, because if I don't, I will never be able to live with myself if something does happen to him. There was one time I tried to get him help. He was like not taking it. And it's just always the same cycle. Like, for example, when I announced my book, he did the same thing. He called my mom, "I think I'm not going to be around much longer."
Drama queen. Anywho, so yeah, the person who called the emergency line there in Buenos Aires said this guy's in his room. He's trashing the place. Clearly, there's some drugs and alcohol on the premises. So there were a lot of stories going around. There were also photos of the room going around. I don't know if those were legit. If they were, there was a lot. There was like a smashed TV, and there's drug paraphernalia. And so the call to the emergency services was like, "We have a guest who's really high, and when he's conscious, he's destroying the room. So I don't know that they've ascertained whether or not he did jump or if he was just so heavily under the influence that he did fall. But they're like, he died on the scene, because they were like, you jump from that height and you're not going to live. You had traumatic external and internal injuries. So, but most of the stories on it are, like that he fell. And, but it sounds like, obviously he did fall. But jumping is falling too. Jumping is the precursor to falling. Falling is just like, I fell off my balcony. But put all that together, he's having a real hard time with his ex-fiancée, that girl there, a woman named Maya Henry. And they're in this protracted legal battle, and he's in the room, doing drugs or whatever. And that's not a recipe for having a good time. But again, I don't know. Literally, I didn't really know that band. I know these guys who are bigger as solo artists. Everybody talks about Henry Styles.
Harry.
Harry Styles. See what I'm saying? Like, I don't, Harry Styles.
Yeah, Harry Styles is definitely the one that I've
He's
heard
the one that got the lion's share of attention.
I think Zayn was the first one to leave the band, but I don't really know. Yeah, I don't. Like, even that band was a little. My kids were kind of into it, but they were more Jonas Brothers and stuff like that.
Okay. Hey, Joe.
911.
Hey there. How you guys
Somebody said 911.
Yeah.
Oh, God. What, Joe? What, Joe?
911.
911.
911 is what somebody said the number is there in Argentina, Joe. Can you believe it? The audacity.
Okay then. Hey, I got some other nice news, and it pertains to my I get my Social Security. I'm retired, and you guys are cracking me up. and I had to call my Social Security representative, and then she got me into the Medicaid, Medicare plan, and I'm really ecstatic about that. It's all happening now. So to change the subject, sorry about the guy jumping off the drug addict.
No, that's okay. Joe, your call is kind of, we've gotten a handful of like random calls from people on random subjects, and I'm kind of, my brain is trying to find a thread between them, and I'm having a hard time. Not your fault.
So, you got any good news?
It sounds like you.
Died, right?
It sounds like you've got the good news part taken care of, Joe.
Yes, I got it, and I'm happy, and I just want to broadcast it out.
Right. You want to let the whole world know. You want to shout it from the rooftops. That
I do, but I'm not gonna jump off no balcony, and
okay,
I don't do drugs or nothing like that. I just drink beer. That's about it.
Just drink beer, hot or cold.
Oh, well, it depends on the day.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying.
Depends on the temperature. Yeah.
Right. Okay, thank you, Joe. There's Joe who wanted to check in with us, Bill. But you understand what I'm saying? We're getting like random calls from guys. Scott called us again.
Scott's unleashed a certain type of caller.
You think that's what it is?
I think so.
Cleveland, Ohio, when we had the river on fire, and now look at us. Hello, Michael. Joe Cronauer, Brian Fowler, back at Hart Brother, 15 in Oberlin Rock. I couldn't sit or stand. They want to hire me, and then they go Yahoo it up. They're listening to MMS. Woohoo!
You got to Yahoo it up.
Yahoo it up.
Whatever else he says, he's absolutely correct about that. You do have to Yahoo it up. Falling is the opposite of standing. Right. Jumping is the Yeah, falling is the opposite of standing.
Dying is the opposite of leaving.
Right. Yes, One Direction is the other joke, too. His tribute band in Argentina was called One Direction. But it is sad, man. If you've got that level of fame and then everybody will invariably go their separate ways, It's true of any one of these boy bands, right? Even while the band is still together, you got a couple of the guys who are clearly the big breakout dudes. And I don't know anything about One Direction. So I don't know if when they were together, there were a couple, if Harry Styles was the one that people recognized was going to be the Justin Timberlake of that band. It seemed like the guys who came out of that band, 2 or 3 of them had really successful solo careers. This guy didn't know anything about him, but it sounds like maybe things weren't going so well for him. And if you're an addict, that just puts everything into a different perspective too. That's terrible. You're arguing, you're in court, you're in a hotel room, getting high.
I mean, that's like such a fun thing to do. It's a bummer that
getting high in a hotel room?
Yeah, it's one of the best places to get high.
I don't know that I've ever gotten high in a hotel room. Like, I either want to be at home or out. I don't think I'd want to be in a hotel room
like
getting
a nice
high.
Trip on a trip.
Trip on a trip, yeah. If you listen to us on iHeartRadio, you can tell me where you do that. You can always leave messages for us as well. Voicemails. A lot of people would just prefer to leave those on the After Hours line. It's always there. It's 216-986-8903.
Mr. Cox, Mr. Crinkle here. Listening to the podcast from a couple days ago, and I just want to clear something up that I've ignored for a long time, but I figured I'd just call in about it. Foot-pounds is the unit of torque, not pressure. You're always saying foot-pounds of pressure, and like I said, I've just ignored it. And I know you value accuracy and clarity and word economy and all that good stuff. So just thought I'd call in. So I'll give you a second to do the nerds are calling it. Go ahead. Okay, bye.
No, listen, I always value accuracy. Unfortunately, you are wrong. A foot-pound is pressure. You're thinking of the pound-foot. Now, I'm happy for you that you don't have to stay quiet any longer, but you did mix them up. Pound-foot is your torque measurement. So my dad was a mechanical engineer for 50 years. He taught college courses like statics and dynamics and gravitational systems. And so I grew up here at the company he worked for. One of the things they made were torque converters for vehicles. And so I heard it's all I ever heard growing up was this stuff. So foot-pound, you are wrong, Mr. Crinkle. I'm sorry. The pound-foot is what you were thinking of. Now, you can, if you're really smart, and I'm not, you can convert one to the other. That is some very complicated math that engineers will understand. But at least you get that off your chest. You are incorrect. But I always appreciate the devotion to accuracy. So I always encourage people to tell me. Now, I don't have to tell them because, as we all know, when we screw up, people can't wait to tell us.
They love telling us.
But that's fair because we're speaking extemporaneously. But you are thinking of the pound-foot. Torque equals force times radius.
Maybe you are.
If you remember
I'm
those.
talking off the cuff. You can do all your extemporaneous stuff.
Yeah. I've got to take another break here. I will have what for you on the way back. Oh, Disturbed tickets. So MMS is presenting the Disturbed